Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today let's find out which region offers the best value Syrah at €25 price point. In most of my tasting videos, whether I'm tasting blind or not, I usually know the labels beforehand. That's simply because I am the one who selects and purchases them. But when it comes to truly assessing wine's quality without any biases, that might not be the best option. Firstly, when I buy wines for my videos, I tend to pick bottles I know I will actually want to finish in the coming days or weeks. So maybe, subconsciously, I am choosing wines that are above average in their region when it comes to quality. And then, of course, there are some wines I am already familiar with, and in a blind tasting, I might even recognize winemaker's style. So yeah, it's not always 100% truly blind. When I had the idea to make a video where I taste wines at the same price point from the same grape variety or blend, but from different regions, I knew it had to be 100% blind. Which is exactly why my cameraman is now running my errands and buying wines for me. I have already made such videos on €50 Cabernet Sauvignon and €50 Pinot Noir. But today we're going to taste Syrah, a grape variety that has really captivated my heart lately. It is a red grape variety that can produce quite versatile wines, so I would argue that it has a great ability to express its terroir. Therefore, stylistically, Syrah can be very different depending on where it has been grown. For example, in the Rhone Valley, France, it often develops earthy notes, hints of black pepper, leather, and turned earth. But that's not to say Syrah does not have fruit. It is actually quite packed with fruit. And while it is usually more dominated by black and blue fruit flavors, France examples tend to have more crunch to the fruit, more acidity to it. And even though we often think of Rhone Valley as Syrah grape's principal home, the oldest vines of Syrah are actually found in Australia. Australian Syrah, or Shiraz as it's often called there, tends to be riper and darker fruit-driven, sometimes jammier, if I may say so. And that spiciness I often find in European examples is replaced by dark chocolate or notes of menthol. Syrah tends to have elevated tannins, but to me they often seem soft tasting and quite polished, rarely aggressive or harsh. Same goes for the acidity. It is usually elevated, but always well integrated within a fruit rather than standing on its own. And of course, we should all enjoy the style we personally prefer the most. And sometimes it is not about value, but about unique expression that speaks to us. Today, though, I wanted to set that aside and focus purely on value. That's why I have tasked my cameraman to find 5 Syrah from different regions, all priced around €25. So I will do my best to put aside any personal biases and style preferences and focus only on wine's quality, its enjoyability and drinkability, if I may call it that. But before we begin, I really don't think it needs to be said, but I will say it anyways. Please do not take it personally if the region you feel closely connected to is not here on this list. The wine world is vast, and there's just no way I can squeeze all the wines into one video. Alright, with that out of the way, let's finally start the tasting. So, as I said before, all of these wines were selected by my cameraman. I know that they are all Syrah, all from different winemaking regions, and all cost around €25. So let's start with wine number 1. So this is really lovely nose, quite complex. So you do have those fresh fruit, you have ripe, darker style cherry, maybe reddish plum, hint of blueberry or blackberry, but you also have some of that earthiness, some of that chocolate as well. And there is beautiful spiciness to it. That spiciness adds a lot of complexity on the nose. It is just not plump fruit. There is fruit mixed together with spices and some earthy notes. And I don't know what it is, but I do feel like slight hint of something pepperminty or, you know, kind of, yeah, something almost, I don't want to, it's not green per se. It just adds kind of freshness or mintiness to it. Let's taste that wine. So first of all, kudos to my cameraman. The temperature here for these wines is perfect. It is really hot outside, and these wines are around 16 degrees Celsius. It's just perfect. You kind of enjoy the wine much more than you would if it would be like the room temperature. But if we come back to the palate, it is really juicy, lively, quite nervy and energetic. I do feel that acidity, that freshness, slightly chalky tannin texture, but it is not very elevated or harsh or grippy or mouth coating. Beautifully balanced tannin here. I will give this wine 90 points. Let's move to wine number 2. Wow. All right, so this one is really expressive on the nose. And I was talking about earthiness in the wine 1, but this one is truly earthy. Like you have that autumn leaves, you have a bit of something animal-like, like leather or, you know, sweaty horse. But you do have those reddish berries in the background as well. And here the berries are not as ripe. Here berries feel more fresh or more crunchy. I almost feel a hint of cranberry here, which is really sour-like berry. But I do enjoy that earthiness, that damp earth, that horse. So one thing I was not talking about when I tasted wine 1, it felt a bit more luscious, and there was slight hint of alcohol present on the first sip. It did move away relatively quickly. Here, the wine number 2 is more defined by its freshness, by its acidity, by its lightness. I would say that this one is more medium-bodied, and there is way more energy to it when we are talking about the palate. The tannin, I think it is slightly lower volume-wise, but stylistically it is grippier than the wine number 1 showed. I do enjoy this one as well. And here I do not feel the alcohol. Of course there is alcohol, but it is well integrated within the fruit, within the flavors of the wine. So it does not seem like an issue, as opposed in wine number 1 where I kind of felt that warmth sensation the first sip I took. And I will give this wine 91 points. If I could give 91.5, I would. So take that into consideration, because I do not think it kind of really goes towards to be 92, but there's beautiful charm to it. So let's move to wine number 3. So here we have really dark, ripe, ultra ripe fruit. It seems sweet, crushed with a lot of sugar almost. Like it seems bursting with all that sweetness. It's almost jammy-like. But at the same time, it seems really inviting. It does not seem jammy in a sticky way. It just seems jammy in a really ripeness kind of way. It is much deeper in color as well than the wine number 2 was. So maybe you can see it here. And if I come back to wine number 2, you see it is much lighter. And I do feel hints of that cacao bean or that coffee bean, more a cacao bean, like the sweetness of it. Okay, so here in this wine, I do feel the alcohol a bit more than I felt it in wine number 1. The percentage difference, the actual alcohol content difference might not be as high between the wine 1 and 3, but I do think that there was way more concentration in wine 1, and it kind of covered the alcohol may be better. It was better integrated. And here, so the fruit, it was a bit too loose on the palate, so it could not cover that warmth the alcohol presented on the palate as well as it was done in wine number 1. So I did enjoy the nose. It was really inviting and ripe and plump. But on the palate, the midsection, the mid palate with all the weight and the fruit, I would have wished something more. So even though the tannin is beautifully done and there's nice acidity, it adds freshness to the wine and it holds its shape quite well. I will give this wine 88 points. Let's move to wine number 4. Another really dark colored wine. We do have that dark color. And the ripeness of the fruit again is really intense here. And the color, it's just like the tears are even stained with color, and I do see some sediment. And if I was talking about cacao bean here in wine number 3, here in wine number 4, I have way more spiciness, like that slightly toasted coffee bean in here. And coffee bean, something that has also been dipped in dark black chocolate, not that really sweet, but that kind of bitter type of chocolate. You do feel those ultra ripe fruit. Some fruit might have even been raisinated here. Not the grapes themselves, the aroma, I'm talking about the aroma. Let's taste it. So that ripeness, that plumpness of the fruit here, and that sweetness, that fruit sweetness on the finish. And I also enjoy the tannin texture here quite a lot. It is chalky and really finely grained and kind of beautifully made tannin, and something that I do not always associate with Syrah. So I would think this is really beautifully done, because sometimes the tannin of Syrah, for me personally, if we are talking about New World wines, can be too sweet or too luscious. But here I think the tannin has been managed quite well. So I will give this wine 90 points. I do think it is lovely, beautiful wine. And similarly as in wine number 2, there is great charm to it. It is just a bit more calmer and maybe more approachable. And I kind of enjoy the energy of the wine too way more. So let's move to wine number 5. Okay, so another dark fruit, ripe dark fruit driven wine. If we were talking about some earthiness here and there, this is just precision, purity. And at some point it is opening up a bit more, but then it is getting a bit shyer and wants to hide. So you do have to converse with the wine. You do have to spend a bit time with this wine. It seems to me so. But I'm not, It's not so. But another thing that I really like here on the nose is that you feel ripeness. You feel a lot of sunshine the fruit has seen, but it is not jammy. It is not overripe. It is firm and crunchy. Let's taste it. And now on the palate, it has firm, grippy type of tannin. And that is really interesting because for me, Syrah usually has kind of soft, playful, really beautifully and rounded type of tannins. And here I do enjoy that grip it adds to the body. And overall, it is really juicy, nicely done Syrah with a lot of that immediate appeal, with a lot of that beautiful ripe fruit. I will give this wine another 90 points, and that means we have to reveal the wines. Okay, so we will start with the wine that I scored the lowest. It was 88 points. maybe, I was thinking about 88 versus 89. So it would be a solid bronze. All right, I have to retaste this because this is Craggy range single vineyard Syrah from Hawke's Bay, and this is Gimblett gravels. Gimblett gravels is something that I do enjoy a lot, and a region which I love Syrah from. And I've been always really comfortable with this label, and actually bronze is not a bad score. Okay, so now let's move to the 3 wines I scored 90. And we will start with wine number 1. Oh my God, that's a heavy bottle. That's really heavy. El Enemigo Syrah Viognier 2021 vintage. It actually, now that you know, it is so interesting. Now that I know that there's Viognier in it, when you smell it, you kind of feel that floral, that peachy type aroma. You could not get it beforehand. It's strange. Okay, El Enemigo is one of the cult producers in Argentina, and they have never disappointed me. So neither have they disappointed me here in this tasting as well. So let's move to wine number 4. Another label I gave 90 points. This is much lighter bottle. Lohr Paso Robles Syrah 2019 vintage. So this is actually 6 years old. And I think I was talking about that chocolatey element, which sometimes can also indicate some of the age in the wine. Lohr has never disappointed me yet. I do think they offer great, great value. So let's move to wine number 5. Oh, this is... Bishop by Ben Glaetzer, Barossa Valley, Shiraz. Okay, so this is label I have never seen before. So this is new to me. They have very interesting symbol on it. If I'm not mistaken, it symbolizes Venus as a planet. If it's not, we will cut that out. Of course, in this tasting of Syrah, Shiraz wines, it would not be complete without Barossa Valley, Shiraz. It is a classic already. So when you think about origins of Syrah grape variety, within the top 5, you must have Barossa Valley, Shiraz. And I do think that the ripeness and purity of the fruit was really beautifully represented here. I was slightly surprised by the chalkiness of the tannin here. You do not always get that in Barossa wines. And that leaves us with wine number 2, having the highest score, which was 91.5. So we are in France. So this is Francois Villard Crozes-Hermitage Certitude 2021 vintage. Francois Villard I'm actually quite familiar with. He started his career as a chef, then he moved to become a sommelier, and then he realized that his true calling was to be a winemaker, and he settled in Condrieu. So I do think that he started with white wine, and it is only natural that he moved to Syrah because you are located in the northern Rhone, which is essentially Syrah world. And I do think that this Crozes-Hermitage is a great, great value. I mean, Hermitage usually tends to be so expensive. And when it comes to Crozes-Hermitage, it is quite vast appellation. So you really have to know your spots and your winemakers. And Francois Villard definitely is it. I do think this was beautiful wine. A lot of crunchiness, a lot of zest. And I just smelled it. There is that cranberry, that really ripe wild cranberry again. Great. So here you go. One thing that we can assess from this tasting, I think, is that there was not a lot of variation within the quality, because let's be completely honest, 90, 90, 90, 91.5, 88. So it is not really ups and downs at this price category. I would guess that maybe a higher price category or lower price category, there would be more lows and more highs. And so we can be quite safe with choosing Syrah, depending on the style, I guess. And you know, one of my YouTube colleagues told that the scores are essentially a captured moment in time, and I agree, you know, and maybe today this one is 91.5 and tomorrow this would be 91, because, you know, 1 point here and there, it really depends also how you feel. What have you been eating that day? Do you have a bad or good mood? I guarantee it affects how you taste the wines. So I am quite impressed with this tasting, and at €25 mark, we do have really high quality, so that's great. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this tasting, what you think of specific wines, and also if you do have in mind a grape variety, wine style, region, maybe, you know, that I should do tasting similar to this next, comment that as well. And make sure to watch my other video where I tasted €50 Pinot Noir and was looking for value there.